Hello and welcome back to another tutorial on this channel. In this tutorial I want to show you how you can combine your meshes. You probably did through Finalizing or something like that. So you just have one object for each type. For example, this is a 64 by 64 map, which roughly has about 4000 cubes if you want it that way. And now with this technique you just have 3 for the water, for the sand and for the grass and so on. Yeah, this is just the basic. So you see the border is missing. We're covering that in another tutorial, but just for the basic, stay tuned and let's dive right into it. I already prepared something. You see on the bottom, you see we have some prefabs, the grass prefab, the sand prefab and the water prefab, which are basically the blocks we want to use for our purlin noise or something like that you want to mesh combine. And on the left side, it is an world generator game object, which already has a world generator script attached to it. Here we just can set the map size, the water prefab, the sand prefab and the grass prefab we had down below. And also the water parent, the sand parent and the grass parent, which are just empty game objects right here as a child. I've prepared this because normally when you watch the tutorial you already have a base or a foundation, probably a grid or a purlin noise map, which you want to mesh combine. So I also did that, and when we execute this we have a super nice little map which is full of sand, full of grass and full of water. You can also see the code right here. This is just the things we already saw in the inspector, which is just the vector2 int for the map size and a whole lot of game objects for the prefabs and also for the parents. This is just for the sake of the tutorial. Normally you would create these parents dynamically, but I think for the purpose of this tutorial it's okay to preset them. And what happens here, this is just a super simple purlin noise which we are creating. We are iterating over the map size y and the x-axis, calculate the purlin noise for the x plus the offset we have set and the scale. This is nothing super crazy. There are a bunch of tutorials which explain the purlin noise, and then we're just setting the water, the sand and the grass when the purlin noise value is in between our values we have set. What indeed is pretty interesting is that we're setting the parent of our spawned prefab to the regarding parent, because we are using these parents to generate a mesh which contains all of its children. So now I have created a new C# script, which is the plain mesh generator. I want to have that as a static class so I can use this all over our code base. And now we just can start right away with setting our first method, which I just call generate mesh, and we want to return a mesh. So we say generate mesh, of course with a capital G, and we just want to have the game object of the mesh parent, which I already told you before. This is a game object, of course. And now we want to create a list for our vertices and for our triangles so that we can create our mesh over time. So just create a new vector3 list for the vertices. We also have to import this generic collection. And because our triangles are just the pointers to these vertices, if you want it so, then we just can create the list of integer and call it tries, just to stay not that long, and creating a new list for that. So what do we want to do now? We want to iterate over all children which this mesh parent has, and want to get the x and the z axis of the world position of this transform object. So we roughly know where we have to position our new triangle. We then get all of the 4 corners of this mesh, because we just have a constraint that the size of our cube is 1. Then create a vertices array, iterate over these, and want to add these to our triangle list, and then create a UV out of it. So we have just one plain mesh here, which is this one, and there we have 4 corners, which are A, B, C, and D. Wow, this is beautiful. Okay, right, and this plane is basically 2 triangles, which look like this. So we have the triangle ABC, and we have the triangle ADC. Of course, you could also spin it that way, so you have the triangle ABD and the triangle BDC. For our use case, it isn't that important. We also have a center right here. So we know that the A position, this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis, is A is the x position of the middle minus 0.5, we're going to the left, and then plus 0.5, and we're at the A, right? So we know A is x minus 0.5, and on the y, or at the z-axis later, we're at the plus 0.5. So with this information, we can now start iterating over all of our children. For I is equal to 0 because we want to start at 0, and we want to iterate over all these children. So we take the mesh parent.transform.child count, and with each iteration we want to increase our index. So we want to get the transform of our vertex transform. So we get the transform, I just call it vertex transform. It's basically the child at this position of the index. And now we want to get the x and the z value. So we get the vertex transform, but we want to get the world position, so just the position dot x, and we're doing the same for the z-axis. So we have the z and the x-axis. So we know these are the middle points we have for each game object within this mesh parent as a child. And now we can calculate A, B, C, and D corners. So the first one is A, which is the new vector 3, which I already explained is x minus 0.f. We stay the same at the y-axis, and the z-axis is z plus 0.5f. So we're doing the same for the rest with the vector B. For example, it is nearly the same, but we want to go to the other direction, so we just add 0.5 to the x-axis. We do not want to subtract something from the z-axis here, because that would be the diagonally opposite direction. Nevertheless, here in these both cases we want to subtract them, and also here we want to add them again. So we have 4 cases with minus plus, plus plus, minus minus, and plus minus if you want it that way. What I mean with that is that we're just adding here something to the x, subtracting here something to the x, and adding something to the x, and so on and so forth. So we have these 4 corners created. So we have the vertices of the 4 corners, and now we want to just create these triangle positions, and we do it that way by just ordering them right. So we have a vector 3 array as a new vector 3 array, and we're just filling that with A, B, C, because this is the first triangle, and the second triangle is B, D, C, as I explained already in Paint. And now we just easily want to iterate over all of these, because we know we can count these are 6, so we want to stay below 6, because this is null index based, and want to increase our index with every iteration. And here we just can add the value of this current index to the vertices list. So we can add this, we can this, and then this. But we want to also have the pointers of that saved, and we easily do that by adding trees count. So this means in the first iteration, the first index is 0, so we get the first one here is A. This is added to the vertices list, which basically is a vector 3, and then we have the pointer in the 0, which says, hey, this is the pointer at index 0, we're pointing to this entry. So, and we do that with all of the children from the mesh parent. And the cool thing about this is that we now have every vertice in our vertices list, and all triangles point to the vertices. So the pretty cool thing is we have everything now in just one list and can now create a UV out of that. To do that, we simply can create a vector 2 array, calling that UVs, and say, okay, we want to create a new vector 2 array with the size of the vertices count to stay pretty dynamic, and can span the UV over all of these vertices. Again, we want to iterate over something, and in this case we want to iterate over the UV's length, which basically says that we want to make it plane. We want to convert it from a vector 3 to a vector 2 to get a flat surface for each mesh. So for that, we're saying I has to be lower than the UV's length, and we want to increase I with every iteration, and now want to set the UVs at I at the current index to a new vector 2, which basically is the vertices I at x and the vertices I set as this autocomplete already suggests. Cool. So basically getting these values as a vector 2. This is necessary because the vertices and the trees has to be a vector 3, but the UVs just have to be a vector 2. Not that cool, but this is how it unfortunately has to be. So, and now we just can create our new mesh by instantiating a new mesh. Pretty cool. And now we can say mesh.vertices is our current vertices as a vector 3 to array, because this needs to be an array. And also we can set the triangles, also the same. We can say trees or tries to array. Now, because the UVs are already a vector 2 array, we can set these accordingly as UVs. And after all of these are set, we want to recalculate the normals so that the normals are, as I said, recalculated, and the mesh gets, if you want to say that so, gets built. And now we can return the mesh. And with this mesh generator you already built now, you get the base of a pretty cool mesh generation framework, because now you've managed to combine all of these flat meshes. Why flat? I can show you in a minute. But first we want to make sure that we're generating the world accordingly. So this is still necessary, our world generation. So please go to your own world generation, or if you want the code here you can have it. It's nothing special. It's pretty important that the world has to be generated and has all of these parents. So now you have to iterate over all your parents and generate a mesh for them. So we first have to get a list of all these game objects. I just call it parent list, and we just fill them with the water prefab, the sand prefab, and the grass parent with the water parent, with the sand parent, and the grass parent. And now we just can iterate over these. For P in parent list, we now can generate a mesh. So this is the mesh, which is the mesh generator. We said we have it static, so we can just call it generate mesh, and we easily want to put in our parent. Now we have a mesh generated, and with that we want to feed a new game object. So we instantiate a new game object, and let's just call it p.name plus bind. Nice. Now we want to add a mesh filter where we can set the mesh. So the mesh filter has to be added. And within this add component, we already can set the mesh to the mesh we generated before. And also to see something, we want to have the mesh render component added. This is pretty cool. And with all this information, it is done. Of course, we can leave it like that. This is pretty ugly because I'm a big fan of just deleting all of the other parents after that. So I am just calling destroy on the water parent, on the sand parent, and on the grass parent, because we do not need hundreds of cubes. We just want to have our 3 objects: the water object, the sand object, and the grass object. Of course, this is not good code. In an ideal world, you have a pretty cool dynamic way on generating these parents and also destroying them later on. What you now want to do is to get the correct material filled with the material of the prefab, which is just the material we now are creating, and we're just getting the material based on what parent we're having. This is also not good code practice, because normally you would have something like a scriptable object where you say, hey, this block type has this parent and has this material and has this prefab and stuff like that. But for the sake of the tutorial, I just want to make sure that you guys know what is happening right in this code. So if this is the water parent, we're just fetching the water prefabs material, and so on and so forth for the sand and for the grass. And also this has to be shared material instead of just a normal material, because we cannot access the material of a prefab. And we might also want to set the parent of this created object to our current world generator to see a pretty cool hierarchy. So back in Unity, we can hit our play button and let's see how this is looking. Yep, it looks pretty cool, and instead of over 4,000 game objects, because we have to multiply 64 by 64, we just have 3. This is pretty cool and is a really lot more performant than having over 4,000 of these cubes in here. But I guess you already noticed that this is not perfect, because you see the borders here are missing on the side, and also if you're having not a flat world but something like a world where the water is a little deeper and the grass is a little higher, you easily see, okay, this is not looking good, everything else is missing. And this was just the basics on how you can create this type of mesh combination. In the next tutorial, I want to show you how to get the edges here, the borders done, and to have in the end a pretty nice world. Yep, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, then please hit the like button and comment down below what I can do next. And if you don't want to miss any updates on my game, which I'm coding, or some tutorials like this, then please hit the subscribe button, and we see us in the next video. Bye.